Temptations of Old Age by Malcolm Cowley. Not whiskey or cooking sherry, but simply giving up is the greatest temptation of old age. It is something different from a stoical acceptance of infirmities, which is something to be admired. The givers up see no reason for working. Sometimes they lie in bed all day when moving about would still be possible, if difficult. I had a friend, a distinguished poet, who surrendered in that fashion. The doctors tried to stir him to action, but he refused to leave his room. Another friend, once a successful artist, stopped painting when his eyes began to fail. His doctor made the mistake of telling him that he suffered from a fatal disease. He then lost interest in everything except the splendid Rolls-Royce, acquired in his prosperous days, that stood in the garage. Daily he wiped the dust from its hood. He couldn't drive it on the road any longer, but he used to sit in the driver's seat, start the motor, then back the rolls out of the garage and drive it in again, back 20 feet and forward 20 feet. That was his only distraction. I haven't the right to blame those who surrender, not being able to put myself inside their minds or bodies. Often they must have compelling reasons, physical or moral. Not only do they suffer from a variety of ailments, but also they are made to feel that they no longer have a function in the community. Their families and neighbors don't ask them for advice, don't really listen when they speak, don't call on them for efforts. One notes that there are not a few recoveries from apparent senility when that situation changes. If it doesn't change, old persons may decide that efforts are useless. I sympathize with their problems, but the men and women I envy are those who accept old age as a series of challenges. For such persons, every new infirmity is an enemy to be outwitted, an obstacle to be overcome by force of will. They enjoy each little victory over themselves, and sometimes they win a major success. Renoir was one of them. He continued painting, and magnificently, for years after he was crippled by arthritis. The brush had to be strapped to his arm. "You don't need your hand to paint," he said. Goya was another of the unvanquished. At 72, he retired as an official painter of the Spanish court and decided to work only for himself. His later years were those of the famous black paintings, in which he let his imagination run, and also of the lithographs, then a new technique. At 78, he escaped a reign of terror in Spain by fleeing to Bordeaux. He was deaf, and his eyes were failing. In order to work, he had to wear several pairs of spectacles, one over another, and then use a magnifying glass. But he was producing splendid work in a totally new style. At 80, he drew an ancient man propped on two sticks, with a mass of white hair and beard hiding his face and with the inscription, "I am still learning." 80 years old, the great Catholic poet Paul Claudel wrote in his journal. No eyes left, no ears, no teeth, no legs, no wind. And when all is said and done, how astonishingly well one does without them.